Hello, everybody. This is the Empirical Audiophile. Welcome to my channel if this is the first time you're here. Today, I got something for you that I think you're going to like. Audiophiles, we like deals. You walk in, you buy an amp, preamp, whatever you're buying, you get a discount. We like that. If you walk into a salon and you don't get a discount, that's like buying a house and not getting money off. It just is not done. Good salons will give you money off. And better salons give you, 15, 20% off of the price. Salons that don't care, they may give you a lot less. But a good salon that wants to keep your business and knows you'll be back, they'll give you 20. And sometimes you can even get as much as 30% or more off, depending on like if it's an open box or something like that you're buying. But we all like deals is basically what I'm getting to. And I went around and I wanted to do this video for quite a while. And I went around looking at bases, to put your amp on, your preamp, such as what you're seeing here, this bass right here, this wood bass. And I have two different kinds of bass for my equipment. One, I have a Townsend bass, which is air bladders. It has to be pumped up about every 3 months or so, runs out of air and you have to pump it back up. That costs about $1,500, very expensive. Some of the basses that you put your amps on and stuff, they're very expensive. But when you look at something like this, and you want to get a wood bass, let's say, and you want to get some feet to ground the wood bass to stop resonating frequencies from getting to your amp, let's say. Well, we all know that you can put points onto your equipment and to ground it out, or so it doesn't get those resonating frequencies going into the amp, or so it doesn't go into the music. And this has been known for a long time. I remember when points first came out and they used them on speakers, they found out, yes, it did make a difference. So bases and points will depend on your equipment, your rack, like audiophile racks. They're real expensive. The racks I got here, right here, they're bought off of Amazon. I think they were 190 bucks a rack or less. I know I didn't pay that much for them, but because I can't see buying an audiophile rack for, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for an audiophile rack. I just don't see the justification because it has the name audiophile. And I think a lot of us are that way. We're not going to go out and spend that much money on an audiophile rack. So this is a audio rack made in China. I don't, it's okay. It's good for the price to hold your equipment, but I do add little things like this block of wood here. Now, this is what I want to talk about in this video, is the blocks of wood that you see on your turntable and on the Conrad Johnson amp here. Not like the Townsend that has the bladders in it, way too expensive. So I went looking for this, and of course they have old maple and whatever, and they're expensive. Have you been to like Crutchfield or something like that and looked up these basses? 150, 250, 300 bucks for a wood bass with some grounding, as I call them, grounding feet, for stabilizer feet or whatever you may want to call these feet that are underneath here, besides using what the manufacturer gives you, which is usually just rubber feet. And you add on whatever you want. And some of these, the feet that you put on the bottom of speakers and stuff, they get pretty esoteric. I mean, real expensive. They're over-engineered. And that's for an engineer, that's like a big no-no. Don't over-engineer something. I'm an engineer, and you don't over-engineer something, but you can over-engineer if the company wants you to do that, because it's going to cost a lot of money, cause a lot of work, and be expensive. And if you have the market to over-engineer something, okay, then it's okay to over-engineer it. But is it really necessary to have something over-engineered? Well, they do it, make these esoteric grounding spikes and stuff. They do it on purpose because they know the audience that they're going to, or the consumer that is going to like it or want to buy it, thinking that these over-engineered products are exactly what they want to get the last, 1% of sound out of what you're buying. And lately, we're finding out that a lot of people just don't give a shit about that last 1 or 5% of sound, and they're not going to pay the money for it. To them, it's just not worth it. It's not worth it to me. I know I'm only going to get so much sound out of my system, and I don't care if I don't run out and buy a, $27,000 amp or a $50,000 amp or a $250,000 amp. I don't care if I'm not going to get that last 5%. Okay, for the money, it's just not worth it. So I think a lot of you feel the same way. You really don't care. As long as it's good, you don't care if you don't get that last 5%. But in something like this, I found these, believe it or not, these are just nothing but what they call chopping blocks, I guess you would say. Breadboards is another name for them. A lot of people will have some videos and stuff on IKEA sells breadboards. Breadboards get expensive. Have you seen the price of some breadboards? How expensive they are? It's a freaking breadboard. And it costs, hundreds of dollars for a breadboard. You got to be kidding me. I'm cutting bread on it. I'm going to scratch it all up with a knife. And you people are asking, $100, $200 for a breadboard. Well, that's because they put, try to make them look nice or put carvings in them or whatever. And, but anyhow, even breadboards can get expensive. Another problem with breadboards is how thick they are. A lot of these bases need to be thick, like 2 inches thick. Well, I found these bases here. I got the first one, you've probably seen in my older videos, over there underneath the turntable, the Marantz turntable. I found that. And Marshalls are what they call home goods. Home goods and Marshalls, they're the same, they're owned by the same store. So a lot of times you'll see a home goods store, you'll see a Marshalls. Sometimes they're connected together, where if you walked into the Marshalls or the home good, you can just go right over to the Marshalls or vice versa. The Marshalls will sell clothes and stuff. Home goods will sell, lamps, kitchen goods, towels, bathroom goods, things for your pet. They have that kind of thing, where Marshalls will mainly sell clothing. But anyhow, you go to Home Goods. So I went to Home Goods and I found that piece of wood made in India. And I thought, wow, this is a good size piece of wood. How expensive it is, because it's basically a cutting board. And let me see, what was it? 35 bucks. It was $35. I thought, $35 for a piece of, for the breadboard, that's a great deal for a 2-inch, over 2 inches thick. So I lifted it up and I thought, holy cow, is this thing heavy? And it's made out of, it's not just all one piece, but it's, made out of pieces of wood that are glued together for stabilization. And I thought, wow, I don't care if it's made in India, for $35, I bought one. And I put it on my turntable, and they have a hole in them. Let me show you this one. I got an extra. They have a hole in them. Here it is. And I thought to myself, I don't like that hole really, but I can work around it. For $35, I can work around it. Well, it just so happens that all the cabling from the turntable goes through the hole. I thought, wow, that's nice. So I'm utilizing the hole that's already in there. All the cables and wiring go right through the hole down to, where I want it to go in the preamp or whatever. I thought, okay, I can accept the hole. And I had some not silver, brass. I think they're brass. I don't think they're bronze. German points. Now, I paid a good buck for those German points 30 years ago, and I put them on all my equipment. And as you can see, some of my equipment still has the German points on. However, you don't need to go out and buy expensive German points, but points back then, over 30 years ago, were kind of still expensive. But today, we got something like this, and we got these risers that use brass points, and they're a lot easier to use than the old-fashioned German points underneath the turntable, where you have to have sticky tape, double-sided tape of some sort to stick it so you can put it down. And then you have little footers that are cut out with a chamfer so the point sticks in there so it doesn't make a hole in your furniture or in your floor if you put them on your speakers, because they definitely will make a hole in your floor. The points were designed to go through carpeting, and who cares what's underneath if it makes a mark in the flooring, the subflooring underneath the carpeting, right? You don't see it. But they made those discs so if you had a wood floor, you don't want to put these marks in. And they're really a pain in the ass to get the little disc underneath the point and lift it up and get that disc up underneath it. So when I found these that are underneath this block of wood, from China, you get 4 of them for like $22. And they have a point, and they have the little disc, so the point, marries into the disc, and they have pads on top and bottom, so the piece of equipment does not slide or slip around, or vibrations will move it. And for $22, I thought this is a good deal compared to the points. They come different ways from the same manufacturer, makes different kinds of points. Some of them have ball bearings in it, if that's what you want. How esoteric you want to be is strictly up to you. But I wanted to bring this up because for the price of this piece of wood here, okay, this thing weighs over 20 pounds. I was really shocked when I picked this thing up that, holy cow, thing weighs over 20 pounds. Still I'm thinking to myself, really, 35 bucks for this? This is a great piece of wood for amps, preamps. Add any kind of footing you want onto it for $35 at Home Goods. So I went back to Home Goods when I bought this piece, and I bought this piece 2 weeks ago. I went back to Home Goods, and they had like 4 of these from India. I said, well, 2 of them are mine. At that price, I saw these, what they cost on the internet. They're extremely expensive, and this is extremely heavy, over 20 pounds. A lot of people buy things like this, or the Townsend. I remember when the Townsend was rated in Stereophile, and I remember the guy did a review on it. And they were expensive back then when they did the review. And they said, oh, if you use 2, it's even better. Like they're already expensive. And now you want me to buy 2 and stack them on each other? It's even better. You even get more sonic quality, and you get more of everything. I've seen that in Stereophile several times. Another review was on ATC, Kimber ATC cable. Oh, if you do a double run, it's even better. Sonically, it's like, it's bullshit. A single run of 8 TC is good enough. I think you buy 16 TC or whatever, but that's a double run of 8 TC. And I knew, myself included, several people that did that, bought a double run. We heard sonically zero, nothing, no improvement. It may lessen the resistance, but that's about it. So I don't know where the reviewer on Stereophile came up with buying a double run of 8 TC. I guess if you had a long run, but since most people only use about 8 foot or 10 foot of wire for their speakers, no, you're not going to benefit. But I wanted to make something about these platforms here. You can spend a lot of money on them. And believe me, you're going to get real bent out of shape and pissed if you use one and you sonically hear nothing. And you just spent, $200-300 on one. I wanted to bring that up. You may use one of these and it will look good, but sonically you may hear zero coming from what you did. For $57, I can eat that if I hear nothing, zero improvement. You're not going to say, whoa, I just spent $350. I don't hear a thing. You may hear, it depends on your system. It will depend on your flooring. It will depend on how heavy everything is and if they're next to your base. A lot of things will determine if these will be a vast improvement to your system. But just remember, that's my disclaimer, is you may not hear any improvement. Then again, you may hear an improvement, so just be forewarned. And that's why I'm making this video, because it's cheap enough that if you make one up and it looks good and you try it on your amp or preamp and you notice, or on your turntable, and you sonically don't hear anything, you can eat the $54. It's not that expensive. If you do hear something, then that's great. Now I know the next thing people are going to say, well, if you sonically don't hear anything, it's not the right kind of wood, or it's not the right kind of, we can go on and debate whether or not it's the right kind of wood or the right points, or if I needed some esoteric points that cost, $750 for a set of 3. We can go on and debate that, but I've used several different points. I use carbon fiber. There's carbon fiber underneath the Marantz turntable. I can go on and on of all the stuff I have tried to get better sonics. And some of them work a little bit and some of them do absolutely nothing. And I'm just telling you the truth. They didn't make a hill of beans whether I did it or not, and some made very little difference. So, I mean, unless you have golden ears beyond that of humans, you may have some people have golden ears. No matter what they do, they can hear it. Oh, can't you hear that? No, I'm sorry, I don't have golden ears. I'm just a human being from the planet Earth. So, that's why I want to do it. I'm not trying to sell you on anything. Just remember, it may not do anything that you want. So that's it for this video. This is the Empirical Audiophile. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're looking for one of these, don't spend $300. You may be real disappointed what you did. Anyhow, happy listening. Thank you for watching.